Today, for our Halloweeny weeniness, we are going to talk about another 8-film set. 4 of these films I've already seen. I can show you some collections from them. We have The Prophecy here, which I've already seen here. It only has the first film. The first film is the best film in this collection, but Miramax released all 5 here. And, Christopher Walken is only in the first 3. The 4th and the 5th ones were filmed very cheaply. I think they filmed them in Bulgaria. I have a story about this, and this is why I'm bringing out Hellraiser sequels. Only the Miramax ones. The first 2 here, this was made by a different company. It was made by the actual people. The first 2 were made by the same guys. The same team, same production companies. They produced and made the first 2. That's why they're so good. Then Dimension Films came along and said, hey, we want some, Dimension Miramax, they came along and said, hey, we want to do some of these things too. And we have all these in the back. And if you know Miramax Dimensions, if you know their lower budget films and their sequels, then you know that they tend to use the same character actors, the same extras, the same locations. They tend to film multiple films at the same location. So let's say they were able to pay for a trip to go to Bulgaria for a couple weeks. They're going to film all of the films that they plan to film on this location while they're there, so they only have to go there once. So they filmed Deader and the Prophecy sequels on location there at the same time. And I don't know if they filmed Hellseeker there, but probably not Hellseeker. But no. They filmed Deader there, and they filmed these 2 there. I don't know if they filmed another film that's not Hellraiser or Prophecy there at the same time, but I do know that they filmed these 2 at the same time. The reason why is because when you watch Deader, I'm sorry, but if you watched Deader, and you're in the bathroom scene, and you see little flashing little tidbits of little footage, you will see that same footage in these 2 films. So, and you realize, oh damn, they probably used the exact same roll of footage, and damn, that looks like the same location. That looks like that same building. I've seen these extras in this film. It's because they use the same people, the same people, and the same locations. But yeah, Miramax is very cheap like that. But that's Prophecy. The first one's the best one, though. So the first one has Viggo Mortensen, which is awesome. This one also has Viggo Mortensen. We're going to get to that. But there's some good stuff on display here that I definitely think is worth your attention. I had to pause for a moment. I had a choking fit. The next one film here we have From Dusk Till Dawn. I have seen this one. We have it here, From Dusk Till Dawn. And From Dusk Till Dawn is worth a watch. Even the sequels 2 and 3. I have not seen 2 and 3, but I plan to eventually. But the first one I have seen, and it is amazing. It is amazing. Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, whenever they team up, they do magic. And though Robert Rodriguez, by himself, he ends up making some of the best films ever made. Spy Kids 2, Spy Kids 3D, game over, man. No, I'm kidding. Desperado, El Mariachi, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Planet Terror, he makes Machete 1 and 2. I still am waiting for Machete Kills Again in Space. I'm still waiting for that. Get on it, Mr. Rodriguez. But no, this film is a perfect example of a complete twist, 180. A night and day type of beginning, an opening and an ending. The opening film is just a gangster movie with 2 dudes kidnapping a family so that they could drive across country to get out of the States and into Mexico to escape some law because they're criminals and all that stuff. But the moment they get across the border, the film turns into a vampire schlocky horror movie, and it is very, very fun. Very fun. The effects are amazing. Everything about it is amazing. This is probably my favorite performance by George Clooney ever. Outside of the Ocean's trilogy, this is his best performance. This is amazing by him. I really wanted him to do more action horror movies because He has it. He has it right here, man. But sadly, he didn't do many more. He did Batman 4, Batman and Robin, or did he do? Yeah, he did Batman and Robin. I think Batman Forever was Val Kilmer. So he did Batman and Robin. Oh gosh. But outside of that, man, Clooney, you could have done more with this. But I guess he just wanted to do better quality films. I don't blame him. But I love From Dusk Till Dawn. The sequels are also really fun. Dracula 2000, here, I've seen a long time ago. I have the first one here in a dual copy. Miramax is great with these, man. Can you tell? Miramax has so many of these little collections, little collections here. We have the Miramax Dracula 2000 Cursed collection. We have another Miramax Hellraiser collection. We have another Miramax Prophecy collection. Miramax, you're awesome. Keep putting those out. Cursed is an amazing Wes Craven film. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Dracula 2000, I watched this years and years ago. And it was amazing. I had a lot of fun with it. I had no idea that was Gerard Butler's Dracula until years later. I just couldn't tell. I had seen, what was that movie? What was it? The one where he's a widower and he kidnaps his wife's killer, and he does a law-abiding citizen. I had seen that a long time ago, and then this is the second Gerard Butler movie I had seen at that time, and I just couldn't connect the two. I couldn't connect the two. Oh, I also seen 300, but I couldn't connect Gerard Butler across those. I could connect Gerard Butler from 300 to law-abiding citizen. I knew that was him, but I could not see Gerard Butler in this role. I only saw Dracula in the 2000, and it was awesome. It really was. Wes Craven presents. Yes, he does. He's an executive producer in this, and he's also an executive producer. This is a trilogy. Did you know that? This is a trilogy. Wes Craven presented. He presented the second one, and he presented the third one. This is a trilogy. Though this film has nothing in common connecting it with these two. You know, there's nothing relating from that. You only need to see this. You don't need to see these unless you just want to. If you want to. I wanted to, so that's why I have them. But Dracula 2000 introduced me to one of my favorite bands, Monster Magnet. And there's a music video in this film from Monster Magnet that Dracula ends up watching and he ends up liking. You could tell that Monster Magnet probably helped. Oh gosh, but it was great. It's Dracula walking around in 2000, the year 2000, modern day. It was a nice, hip and happening little bit. We have Foreman from House. We have that guy from the 70s show that's probably not politically correct to talk about anymore, but he dies, so who cares? But it's a pretty good cast, pretty fun time all around. I had a lot of fun with it. I really did. It was a really fun movie. The sequel, Dracula 2. Gerard Butler's gone. No actor or character returns from Dracula 2000 into Dracula 2, and so it feels almost completely removed. We find Dracula's scarred, charred, burnt corpse, and they try to revive it because Roy Schaefer is confined to a wheelchair, and he thinks becoming a vampire will help cure him of his paralysis, and he thinks that the blood of the vampirism, if he can remove all of the negative traits of such as weakness to sunlight and all that other crap, then he might be able to find a lot of medical cures. So the crew, the main characters are all med students and the medical teacher guy. So this feels like an after school club. Basically, they find Dracula, they revive him, and it's just an after-school club of just watching and studying him for the most of the time, until Dracula manages to convince one of the students to let him free, and he ends up going free at the end of the film, and he wins. Most films, Dracula doesn't end up winning. He wins in Dracula 2 Ascension. That's crazy. Jason Scott Lee is also in here. I think that's the guy who played That dude in Mortal Kombat, the live-action Mortal Kombat, I think that's the same guy. I can't be sure. But he's very fun in this. And then, of course, we have the third film, which is the direct sequel to Dracula 2, which is why we do have returning characters in Jason Scott Lee and Jason London. Two Jasons, the two Jasons, me, Jason Scott Lee, Jason London, they return here, and Roy Schaefer does as well. What? But there's a difference here. The guy who played Dracula in this, I forget the guy's name, but he does not come back to play Dracula in this. Rutger Hauer comes in to play Dracula instead. And he camps it up. He's very entertaining, but it is very distracting to see how the Dracula in this turns into Rutger Hauer, and you don't believe it. You don't buy it for a second. But it's fine. It's a fun movie. It's only worth watching if you have seen Dracula 2 and you want to know the ending of that story. That's the only reason why you should watch the sequels. Overall, though, I've seen it, so there it is. There's Dracula 2000. And of course, there's The Faculty. I've already seen it. I've already reviewed it. It's right here. If you want to know about The Faculty, just watch my previous 8-film collection review. It's right here. It's there, whatever. Enjoy it. It's a good film. It's probably the best film in this collection. It's worth watching. Alright, now we finally made it to the 4 films that I have not seen. Immortality, The Reflecting Skin, Subspecies, and Castle Freak. 2 of these films are Full Moon Pictures, Subspecies and Castle Freak. 2 of these films are not, being Immortality and Reflecting Skin. We're going to start with the first one, on the one that I watched in this list, which is Immortality. Immortality is an interesting take on the vampirism. Jude Law plays one of those vampires. He doesn't have fangs. He's not weak to sunlight. He's not weak to crosses. He doesn't have any of those weaknesses. But he can be killed by... I had to cut there for a minute. Where was I? Immortality. He's more of an emotional vampire, Jude Law is. And the emotional vampires are the types that, like, bite into your skin and drink the emotional power of the blood, which means he can only feed off people who like him. You know, he can't exactly feed off people who hate him or are scared of him or all that stuff. That doesn't sustain him, that doesn't give him any power, so as to say. So he has to actually start dating people and getting to know them, and they have to start loving him. And when they love him, that's when he can feed off of that power, that love in their blood to sustain him. And he's looking for the true love, the unadulterated, true love, and that will give him the pure, sustained immortality that he's looking for and all that stuff. So he starts dating this girl, and he gets after her, and then he realizes that he has actually fallen in love with her as well. So he can't go through with biting her, and so his time has run out, and he dies. And she gets to live. He has allowed her to live, because that was actually the curse all along, is that the true love that would sustain him would be something that he couldn't bring himself to take away. And so he dies. It's an interesting little take, and it's not Jude Law's best film, but it is one of Jude Law's more interesting films, and it's probably a film that nobody's ever seen, so definitely give it a shot if you can find it. And then we get to probably the saddest film in this entire collection, The Reflecting Skin. I have the cast here on this crumpled little piece of paper to represent how messed up everything is. Our cast is Boy, who is the main character, Boy 2, who is Boy 1's friend, and Boy 3, who is also Boy 1's friend. We have Boy 1's dad, Boy 1's mom, Viggo Mortensen, who plays Boy 1's brother. We have the widow lady, who Boy 1, Boy 2, and Boy 3 suspect is a vampire after hearing about vampires from Boy 1's dad, because he's reading a vampire story in a magazine. And then we have the Cadillac, which represents the villains of the story. They end up being killers. Then we have Sheriff Man. The Sheriff Man is the man investigating all of the mysterious deaths in the area. Now that we have the cast out of the way, we can start explaining this film in detail in a way that, oh boy. We open with the three boys just being boys. They're just shooting the crap. They're having fun. And then they get to go home, and we realize that we're focusing on boy one. We're not focusing on these two brats. We're just focusing on this one. He goes home. His dad is very shy and removed from everything. He's in his own little world, and you can tell that there's probably something mentally wrong with him. And then we have boy one's mom, who is an emotionally abusive, physically abusive, very mean lady to boy one. She's probably caused boy one a lot of trauma, physical, mental, and physical trauma in his life. So he's not having a good time. And then Vigo is the big brother who has went off to war. This is taking place during World War II, right around the end of World War II, after the bombs have dropped. And Vigo is out there dealing with that. And so boy one's mom loves Vigo more than boy one, so that's not fun. So she's very distraught over Vigo's absence, and she takes that emotional trauma out on boy one, because boy one's dad is very emotionally distant, and he is not helping boy one's mom with anything. He's just running away from everything as well. So boy one's mom is left to shoulder everything during this very traumatic time in everybody's lives. So you can understand her behavior, but you can also understand boy one's dad's behavior. You can understand boy one's behavior in the rest of the film just from this opening scene with their family and how torn apart it is. And it's really interesting. It really is. And so boy one goes outside. You can tell that he has a very strong bond with his father. And boy one's dad shares a story about vampires to the boy, and the boy is very impressionable. And immediately, right away, we learn that there is no authority figure that teaches boy one about the world. The mother won't do it. The father is incapable of doing it. Vigo won't do it when he shows back up. But so nobody is able to help the boy learn about the world around him. So he has to use his childish imagination to find answers for questions that nobody's answering for him. Such as what's going on with Vigo after he comes back. Why is the father acting weird? Why is his mom weird? Why is the widow lady weird? And so, boy one uses his imagination to come to the conclusion that the widow lady that he and his friends have been pranking for a while is actually a vampire. And she's actually being all weird, meanie-faced vampire lady, because they hear from the sheriff man that there have been some killings going on, and people should better watch out. So they're kind of weird about, they're kind of concerned about that. And then the next day, boy 3 ends up dead. He's just dead. He's just gone. He's dead. But first, we gotta talk about the Cadillac. The Cadillac shows up at their gas station. Boy one's parents run a gas station. Their house is the gas station. So the Cadillac shows up to get some gas, and the driver ends up bonding with boy one. There's no tense, meanie face atmosphere in it. It's just more of an ominous, eerie atmosphere with the driver and the boy one's interactions. The Cadillac drives off, leaving boy one behind, but then boy two ends up dead afterwards. And to an informed viewer, they could probably assume that the Cadillac had something to do with it. But the boy one, he suspects widow lady of being a vampire and having killed boy 3. So he goes after widow lady with boy 2 to confront that. And meanwhile, sheriff man comes to boy one's house to confront the parents, because boy one's dad has a history of here's Sonic. We like Sonic. Sonic is he was a teenager in the Sonic movies that recently came out with Cyclops, and so Sonic, acting as a kid, if he ran into boy one's dad back in the past, he would. It's not a good time. It's not a good time. Sonic would have to go fast to get out of there, because it's not a good time. It's not something that I could probably explain on this channel. It's not a good time. No. So that's why Sheriff Man suspects Boy One's dad of being the killer of Boy 3, because he has a history of things with here's Sonic. Here's Sonic. He's got to go fast to get out of there to avoid talking about that. So Boy One's dead, and it revives a lot of trauma for him. We know that he's innocent from this murder, but his history is very psychologically damaging to him. And immediately after Boy One comes home from whatever he did with Widow Lady, Boy One's dad goes outside. He walks to the gas station area. He picks up one of the hoses and starts drinking the gasoline, pouring it all over himself. He's pulled out his drenched book of matches, and he's trying to light it. He can't. It's kind of damp right now. He's trying to light the match, and he keeps failing. Boy One goes outside. Boy One's outside to look at Boy One's dad, and he looks at his dad, and he shouts for him. And Boy One's dad turns to see his son, and he can only get one word out in the middle of trying to strike a match. He says, "Son," and he, almost as if he's trying to stop himself from what he's about to do, the match does catch fire. We skip to just a big fiery explosion, consuming the entire gas station. And Boy One, the mother, the sheriff, they've all showed up, and we can all but assume that Boy One's dad has died through self-immolation, which is not a good way to go. It's not a fun way to go, and so he is gone. He's gone. So now we have two people in this cast. It's already small to begin with, but he's dead now. And then later on, Viggo Mortensen returns home from the war because he needs to help his family take care of the boy, but he's dying from radiation poisoning. We learn that Viggo has been part of the team that has been going through Nagasaki and Hiroshima after the bombs had dropped, to see the aftermath, see all of the irradiated people, the burns, and the hair falling out. So he's probably contracted a lot of that into his body while he was out there. So when he came home, he is suffering from radiation poisoning. He's going to die soon, which is going to come into play a lot later. Nobody, the boy especially, he doesn't know what radiation sickness is. Another interruption, we're back. Okay, so we have Viggo Mortensen has come back from the war, and Boy One doesn't understand what radiation poisoning is, and Viggo probably doesn't even understand that he's contracted this to begin with, so he has no way of explaining it to Boy One. Nobody is really giving Boy One any help whatsoever with what's going on. But all Viggo wants, he probably understands that he's dying. He probably feels it in his body every day when he wakes up, weaker and weaker. And so he feels that he just wants companionship. He wants companionship, and he's kind of lonely for it. He's grown up, he's got a man's body, and he's back from a very terrifying and traumatic experience. War's not a happy place, you know? So he's back from seeing that, and he runs into Widow Lady, who's at the graveyard as well, because they came back to bury Boy One's dead. And they hit it off immediately, because Widow Lady is also seeking companionship after losing her loved one. And so they find companionship in one another, and they start to feel happy again. Boy One is very worried about this, because he still genuinely believes that Widow Lady is a vampire. And he finds hair in Viggo's combs. He sees that he's starting to become emaciated. He's starting to become weaker. And he suspects that Widow Lady, being a vampire, is sucking his blood every night. And it's... So he confronts Viggo and says, "Your girlfriend's a vampire. You should stop seeing her. We gotta kill her." And Viggo's just obviously very upset at this turn of events, and he starts being abusive towards Boy One and rejects him. So boy one is left alone, and he's walking down the road, and then he sees his friend, boy 2. And he sees the Cadillac show up, and the bunch of dudes jump out of the Cadillac and they kidnap boy 2. Boy 1 doesn't say anything about this. He doesn't say anything to the sheriff, nothing to Vigo. He doesn't say anything to anybody. And boy 2 is just driven away, and he shows up dead at his parents' house in the barn. He just gets dropped off dead. And everybody's very sad. Sheriff man is upset about this, and he suspects that boy 1 knows more than he's letting on, and boy 1's not answering any questions. He's not talking about the Cadillac. We don't even know if the Cadillac is real at this point, you know. But he might actually just be the killer. At least we don't know. So he's still trying to get Vigo's attention, and Vigo's like, "Why don't you go play with your friends?" And then boy 1 just nonchalantly responds with, "They're all dead, man. They're all dead. All my friends are dead." And Vigo's like, "Damn. Mine too, probably." And he's in the board, you know, a lot of people died. Everybody's sad. Everybody's post-traumatic stress disorder. Everybody's bad. Everybody's got it bad right now. So boy 1 has no support from Vigo. Vigo's happy right now, though. He and Widow Lady are getting off. They're loving each other, and they're probably gonna get married. Vigo is proposed. Widow Lady has accepted. He doesn't have much time left, and he wants to use the time he has left to be happy. You know, and it's sweet. Let them be happy, you'd say, right? Well, boy 1 still believes that Widow Lady is a vampire and that she's killed his friends, and so he confronts Widow Lady out in the road, and Widow Lady explains the meaning of love to the boy right when the Cadillac drives up. And the Cadillac driver offers Widow Lady a ride, and Widow Lady accepts and gets into the Cadillac, and boy 1 does not warn her at all of what the Cadillac represents, of the evil of what's going to happen next. He saw it with boy 2, right? Well, naturally, Widow Lady does turn up dead. She does turn up dead. Boy 1's mom is a broken emotional wreck after boy 1's dad's death, right? She's an emotional wreck. She's not supportive. She's physically and emotionally abusive to her son, and boy 1 can find nothing from him. Vigo was his last hope of finding a figure that somebody he could look up to. He was mimicking Vigo's behaviors even. When Vigo puts his hand in his pockets, boy 1 mimics his behavior. This is what younger siblings do. This is what I did. I had brothers with that big of an age gap, you know? So, this is what they do, right? He's mimicking his older brother's behaviors, but his brother's very distant. He's like, "Yo, hey kid, you bother me," right? So, Vigo walks off to find Widow Lady's corpse, and he is just destroyed. The trauma of World War II, his incoming death from radiation sickness, and now his last chance at finding love for the last few days, months, weeks of his life has just been taken from him, and he is broken. He is wailing. He is on the floor crying, holding her corpse. Sheriff Lady's there. Boy 1's mom's there. She's broken down. And then boy 1 just runs off into the wheat field and screams at the sky. And we cut to black. We fade to black. The Cadillac's never caught. The driver's never caught. And they leave that up in the air on purpose. You are left thinking that perhaps the Cadillac doesn't exist at all, and boy 1 might actually be the killer. They leave that up in the air for that interpretation, which is very interesting. The Reflecting Skin is not a horror movie in the traditional sense of zombies or vampires or things like that. No. The Reflecting Skin is a story about the very horrifying reality that is reality. In reality, it can be the scariest place in the whole world. You don't need monsters, you don't need vampires, you don't need werewolves, you don't need the creature from the Black Lagoon, you don't need ghosts, goblins, ghouls, demons, you don't need none of that. You just gotta go outside and experience the terrors of reality, and you can realize that there's some true horrors out there that will break you, just like they did in The Reflecting Skin. They filmed this film during the daylight. Every scene has bleaching bright light. Everything is washed in light and color, bright color. And there's no dark, no nighttime scenes like all these other films. It's just bright lights. Everything's filmed during the day. It's very distracting having this be in a collection with all of these. But it's still very terrifying in a very real way, and I definitely recommend it. I can't recommend it enough. The Reflecting Skin probably won't be for everybody. It definitely wasn't for everybody. Viggo Mortensen probably was paid the over 1 million this film had a budget for. This had a budget of like 1.5 million. I think Viggo took 1 million of that himself, but either way, it's filmed on pretty much a farm, a single location area. Very small cast, very powerful performances by everybody. It is very believable, and I'll probably be thinking about it for years to come. It's definitely worth watching. Now we got the two Schlock films next. We have the Subspecies and Castle Freak. Now anybody who knows Full Moon Pictures, Full Moon Studios, Full Moon Entertainment, anybody who knows Full Moon, they know Charles Band. They know what type of dude he is, how he got his movies made, shoestring budgets, make a bunch of them at once, and if one of them makes a lot of money, it pays for 20 more films to be made. That's how this guy got out there. These became cult movie store classics. You go to the movie store, you go to the back in the section with the horror, grab your tapes of Subspecies, Castle Freak, grab the tapes, go to the front of the Blockbuster and say, hey, I want to watch these. And they say, I've never heard of these, man. I didn't even know we had them. And they bring them up, you go home, you watch the schlock, you return it, and you go find some more. That is Full Moon Entertainment in a nutshell. And Subspecies stands out amongst the schlock in a great way. This was the first vampire movie to be shot on location in Romania. They go to Romania and they shoot it there, man. They shoot it in actual castles and ruins. Charles Band paid for that trip to go there, and it was a great time to watch this film. The picture, the camera, the cheap equipment, the sound, the poor sound, the echoiness of it all reminds you of a simpler time. It's the 60s. It's more like the 70s, actually. It's the 70s. Cheap, schlocky European trash is being made for a dime a dozen, such as the werewolf versus the vampire woman or something like that. Cheap 70s schlock, Italian schlock. There's a lot of that out there during the 70s, right? And they're made for super low budgets, cheap looking picture quality, lots of audio popping, and it's just that type of atmosphere can be seen in a lot of these Full Moon pictures. It can be. So we go to watch Subspecies. It's a vampire story. Shot in Romania. They go to Romania. There's all sorts of nice castles, lots of nice looking sets, real atmospheres. It really has a nice feel to it. So they go there. We have two vampires, three technically. We have the good vampire, who looks like a normal human dude. We have the bad vampire, who looks like Nosferatu from the old Nosferatu movie. He looks very monstrous. And then we have their father. These two are brothers. And they have their father, who is played by Angus Scrimm, the tall man. And he's in a funny little wig. They probably got him out there for a couple hours on a single day, so they shot his scenes, and then he flew back home. But Angus Scrimm, for in what little bit he's in, which is start of the movie, about 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, it's very good. He's very, very good. He delivers his lines in a great way. Even in Charles Band levels of cheap, schlocky cheapness, Angus has a way of talking to have his voice echo just like the tall man when he's not the tall man. I have expected him to call his evil son, boy. I have expected it, but I didn't get it. Sad. And he's gone. And the subsequent rest of the film is the two vampires fighting each other over these 3 students that have come to Romania to do some studying paper or whatnot. They're there for a project or something, right? They're there for a vacation/project. And then they all start, bad things start to happen. One of the students, one of the ladies, gets sweet on the good vampire guy. And he gets sweet on them, which means the evil vampire wants to kill the 3 ladies because the good vampire likes them. The evil vampire is just there to cause his brother torment, right? I haven't seen the sequels, I've only seen the first one, right? So I don't know what's going to happen with the bad vampire in future projects. I only know what happens in the first project. So, they start to die. 2 of them turn to vampires. One of them turns into a vampire. The 2 of them turn to bad vampires. And it's just... the performances aren't the best. Now, you don't go to Full Moon for good performances until you go to Castle Freak. We'll talk about that next. But you don't go to Full Moon generally for good performances. You go there for nice schlock, and Subspecies delivers enough schlock to give you a nice 80 to 90 minutes. These movies aren't generally that long. Let's see how long was Subspecies. The length is 80 minutes. That's great. I love these Full Moon pictures because they're not long movies. They're not 2 hours long. Gosh, can you imagine Subspecies if it was 2 hours long? Gosh, no. It's 80 minutes. Get in, get out. Done. Worth watching, definitely. The best film of the 4 that I've seen, though, is Castle Freak. Why? Well, there's a little bit of a story there. What do these 3 films have in common? Reanimator, From Beyond, and Castle Freak. I'll tell you. They all star Jeffrey Combs. I think his name is Jeffrey, yep. They all 3 of them star Jeffrey Combs. They all star Barbara Crampton. Yeah, all 3 of them have Barbara Crampton. All 3 of them are directed by Stuart Gordon. All 3 of them, I think all 3 of them had music. I think this one had him too. I think. I'm not. Yes. All of them had Albert. I think that is his name. Was it Albert? Yes. Albert Band was an executive producer for this one, and was involved with this one. And he's the father of Charles Band, right? Then we have Richard Band, who did the music for Castle Freak. He did the music for Reanimator. I think he also did the music for From Beyond. And then we have the scriptwriter, the screenwriter, the co-screenwriter, who helped Stuart Gordon with his screenwriter, Dennis Paoli. He was also involved in all 3 pictures. It's like the whole team came together to come back to make this one. This was 85. I think this was 88. The whole team came back in 95 to make Castle Freak. They all came back. This feels like this is shot in the 80s, both of these, right? The picture, the quality, the sound, everything looks really good, really high quality. This is Full Moon. The quality, the camera, the sound, the picture, it's all of the same quality of Subspecies, right? But the performances in Castle Freak, Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, everybody gets elevated to super high levels. It is incredible to watch. The creature, the Castle Freak is also incredible to watch. I have some background behind the scenes knowledge for this movie, right? Stuart Gordon walks into Charles Band's office one day, and he sees the poster for Castle Freak. Charles Band had a way of getting money for his movies by just having a poster made before the movie was even made, before even a script was even made. He would make a poster for a movie and put it out to everybody to get investors to give him money to get the movie made, to get it out there, right? And so Stuart Gordon walks in, he sees that poster, and he goes like, "What's that?" And he goes like, and Charles Band goes like, "Hey, you want it? You can make it if you want. You just need to have a castle and a freak in it. I don't care what it's about, but you can make it if you want to." And so Stuart Gordon's like, "Alright, I'll do it." He's Stuart Gordon, he's big on Lovecraft, naturally. See, Reanimator, Lovecraft, From Beyond, Lovecraft. I think he was also there for Dagon, which happened after Castle Freak. And this one's also based off Lovecraft, Castle Freak. It's based off of, I think it's called The Outsider. I haven't read that. But it's about a dude that's in a castle, right? He's a freak. He goes to look in the mirror, he sees how freaky he is, and sees how everybody's afraid of him, and he goes like, "Damn." And then I think that's about it from The Outsider. But Stuart Gordon takes that story and he adapts it into Castle Freak, and it is fantastic from start to finish. It is probably one of the most entertaining films I have ever I don't think it's better than Faculty or From Dusk Till Dawn, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think these two films are better than Castle Freak, but I do think that Castle Freak is better than everything else on this list. It's better than Dracula 2000, better than Prophecy, better than Immortality, better than Subspecies, better than Reflecting Skin. In regards to entertainment value, I think Reflecting Skin is a better script, a better story. I think that, generally though, outside of that, it is better than everything else though. I was also more entertained than I was watching that though. So, Castle Freak is very fun. It's a very fun time. I don't want to spoil anything else from it, because it's just a really good Stuart Gordon film, and outside of all these others, you probably never heard of these two, but this one, I definitely want to tell you, if you have not seen Castle Freak, don't watch the 2020 version. Watch the 1995 full moon version. This one was directed by Stuart Gordon. It brought in Jeffrey Combs. It brought in Barbara Crampton. It had everybody involved. In Reanimator, in From Beyond, it had everybody. Get in there and watch Castle Freak. It is worth your time.